Have you ever had your eye pry open and injected with toxic substances just to see what would happen? Your answer would most likely be no, but this has been happening daily to innocent animals. Animals were intended to live in harmony with mankind. They were not put on earth for us to eat, wear, experiment on, or abuse in any other way. Some popular brands advertise that their products are animal cruelty-free, but without doing the proper research, it's a possibility that the manufacturers that are providing the ingredient on the products have been experienced on animals. This lack of information about testing on animals relates to a lack of regulation in the food industry. The majority of people eat meat, not realizing how these animals have been treated before they die. The research and food industry abuse and neglect animals daily through experiments, hiding the truth from the public, which then has a negative effect on us and our society we live in. Many animals have been used as test subjects in laboratories for our benefit. These animals have no choice in the matter. These animals include mice, fish, rats, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, farm animals, birds, cats, dogs, and monkeys. They are taken and put into cages with no way out. They are just waiting for their turn to be experimented on next. There are two major tests that are practiced on these animals. For example, the Draize test and acute systemic and toxicity tests. The Draize test is an experiment where a substance is placed on the eye or skin of an animal and then is left on for a set amount of time before rinsing it off, and then the effects are recorded. The observations look for any redness, swelling, or even blindness. The acute systemic toxicity test is done orally or inhaled by the animal to test the toxic effects. The products used include different types of makeup, hair products, and detergents. Could you ever imagine ripping a piece of hair off of your own dog or cat's back and then applying toxic chemicals that could potentially burn their skin? How cruel and harsh would someone have to be to even think of that? Animals have not only been abused in this way, but also in the food industry. In the food industry, animals are neglected and pushed to their limits to survive. Animals including pigs, cows, and chickens are squeezed into filthy, windowless sheds and cages. Often these animals will die from disease or infection, and many won't even see or feel the sun again once they are caged. For example, cows are genetically manipulated to grow larger or produce milk than they naturally would. Before the cows are slaughtered, they are transported many miles without food or water. Then, when the cows are being slaughtered, often some remain conscious throughout the process. As an interview with the Washington Post, a slaughterhouse worker described the slaughter process as, "They die piece by piece." Not only does this process affect the animals, but it also affects the area around us, which in turn affects us and our health. Animal abuse in research facilities affect us and our environment greatly. Research facilities require a large amount of food for the animals they are testing on, which contributes to the agriculture dilemma. Once the researchers are done with the animals' bodies, they are discarded after use. Many of these bodies contain toxic or hazardous chemicals that can cause viruses to spread or leach into the groundwater. Some people might argue that this virus may not spread and at least we are finding cures or other solutions. However, Dr. Aisha Akhtar, who is a neurologist in this field, reports that there is a 90% chance that the drug that is tested and safe and effective on animals will be ineffective or unsafe on humans. It is also shown that cures that are tested negative on animals could have tested positive on humans. All of these tests and experiments show that it takes a lot of time, money, and effort when it could have been directed and focused on more human-based tests. Over time, the effects on us and our environment will only get worse, so we need to come up with alternatives. From research, we have learned animal testing has been very cruel, expensive, and generally inapplicable to humans. Scientists have moved on to develop and use methods that test human cells and tissues, also known as in vitro methods. Then came across advanced computer modeling techniques referred to as in silico models. Then it became more and more common to study with human volunteers. These usually take less time and money to complete. Also, when it comes to the food industry, the alternative to this type of animal abuse is not buying into the industry and either going on a vegan diet, which many have already done, or shopping for meat, dairy, poultry at animal cruelty-free markets, which are growing more and more popular. Animal abuse is something that is happening all over the world. Many people will argue that animal testing is beneficial and the food industry is something that is now part of our society and we need to accept it. But through research and complaints of the public, many companies now, such as L'Oreal and Tide, no longer use tests on animals because they were able to find alternatives that work much better. Whereas the food industry should continue to find other ways to make the food industry less common. We have to work together as a team to end animal abuse. It's not something that it can happen on its own, but it is something that we need to work together to solve.